Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mike Rawlings, Mayor of Dallas.
Thank you, and welcome to the Trinity Forest Golf Course. You are sitting in what was just a few days ago the media center, where all the media came from around the world and logged their stories and got information. The video you just saw was part of the video played during the AT&T Byron Nelson bus ride from the Great Fair Park to Trinity Forest. Over 100,000 people saw this video. So thanks to everyone that worked on the Byron Nelson. There were many, many volunteers, many in this room. There were many folks that worked in our GrowSouth booth. The Salesmanship Club gave us a GrowSouth booth, and we appreciate it. I thought Dallas was at its very best this last weekend. It was a great day for Dallas. I do want to say a thank you to the Salesmanship Club. I will tell you what they have done for GrowSouth is remarkable. They left up all this structure for us. It could have been torn down immediately. They've got the air conditioning working, and they are an amazing organization. If you don't know about the Salesmanship Club, you ought to get to know them. They support the Momentous Institute, and what they're doing for children in social and emotional learning is unbelievably important. It's working with kids that come out of poverty, and they know that they can't learn as fast doing that, and so they have best practices to understand how do you help those individuals to be ready for school. Now, we are right here on the 18th hole of the golf course. You will be in the Trinity Forest Golf Clubhouse in the reception. If after you want to, after this, you want to come over for some adult beverages, they're right across the way, and we've got some tables out, and you can get a sense of what has happened. I also want to thank two other people as we're here at this golf course. I asked two people to sit on the Trinity Forest Golf Club and represent the city. One is Willis Johnson, and the other is Joe Alcantar. They're the city representatives here, and I appreciate your effort, gentlemen. Thank you. Now, this story is amazing how we got here, and there are a lot of people that are involved. There are two ladies here, Shirley Davidson and Betty Curley, that are right across the street and neighbors. They sued to make sure the city did something with this landfill. It was, as you remember, it was a landfill, and nothing was happening. And so I appreciate their focus on making sure they had a good purpose. But the golf course makers didn't really know about this place until an individual that I want to recognize here advocated for it. He was the chairman of Groundwork Dallas, and he discovered and advocated this piece of land. He's been throughout this great urban forest for many years, and it's Steve Smith. Steve, would you stand up right here? If after this you want to hear a good story, ask him about it. He can tell you what has happened, and it's remarkable. The other thing is I want to say to Councilman Callahan, I delivered on my promise. I told you that we would have our GrowSouth meeting here in the Pleasant Grove area, so I thank you. We did that. I want to say thank you to Casey Thomas. You'll see him on the big screen later. Adam McGew, District 10, Jennifer Staubach-Gates, and Kevin Felder is here. And I think Mayor Pro Tem Caraway and Tanel Atkins. Oh, there's Tanel Atkins right there. And I know Mayor Pro Tem Caraway is coming down as well. I also want to thank to the city staff that have made this happen, from planning and urban design to economic development, public affairs, EBS, and the Dallas Police. I will tell you, I got more compliments from people at the golf club this weekend about the Dallas Police. They did a wonderful job. It was a hard job, okay? We still We still have a ways to go with logistics and transportation, but they made it work, so I thank you that. I want to thank my staff, but I'll do that privately, and I won't embarrass them all publicly. Now, for you guys that don't quite understand what GrowSouth's all about, let me give you a little bit of an overview. First of all, this is not a city-sponsored event. We don't have city money paying for all this. This is not taxpayer money. These are private individuals and private companies that have stepped up, and I want to thank the sponsors. First of all, Quinn Matthews, who's been our videographer for 3 years. He's done a great job. Thanks, Manny and Daisy. AT&T has been a big, major believer in Southern Dallas. I thank AT&T, always a supporter. Michael and Angela are here. J.P. Morgan Chase have become partners in this initiative as well. They've been supporter of workforce, which is a really important issue as we face in Dallas. The Dallas Regional Chamber is here. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Dale. They publish our newsletter and get out all the things that are happening in Southern Dallas. There they are. Frost Bank has stepped up and become a sponsor. They sponsor many community and neighborhood events throughout the area. Thanks, Sherry Hicks. Southwest Airlines, Dallas's largest employer, decided that they're going to focus on Southern Dallas and the residents that are happening. So thank you. And we even got a company from Plano to kind of be focused on Southern Dallas. Toyota got involved, and they said, we want to be part of what is happening in this important part of town. As well as the Lorenzo Hotel. Everybody knows that's the hotel right across 30 from the City Hall. And it's been revived, and it's a great hotel. Trivia question, or trivia answer. The winner, Aaron Wise of the tournament, stayed at the Lorenzo Hotel. I gave him his trophy, and I said, where'd you stay? He said, I stayed at the Lorenzo Hotel in Southern Dallas, okay? And you're starting to see these things pop up. And last but not least, the great State Fair of Texas. I want to say thank you for what they do around Fair Park and all the areas in Southern Dallas and employ so many people. But last but not least, I want to thank you. You are the people that are the champions for Southern Dallas, okay? I am definitely feel like I'm at a pep rally today. I look around this room and I look at all the volunteers, neighborhood volunteers, community volunteers, past elected officials, folks that sit on commissions and committees for Southern Dallas. I, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you so much. So as we kind of think about what GrowSouth is, it's really a concept about how we can tell people about a big part of the city. And so what we do is we tell people and we set goals, and every year we update you about how we met those goals. These, the information you're going to see are a lot of numbers. We believe in numbers. But there are also stories. There's stories about people. There's stories about places. And I think there's stories about possibilities as well. And don't forget the fourth P. Usually we run into some politics when we start talking about this. Suddenly folks get into politics and disagree with that and this. And that's okay. We want everybody to be debating and discussing how we can make Southern Dallas happen. Because GrowSouth is not one-trick pony that we kind of just take a pill and everybody gets everything they want. It's a journey that we're on. You can disagree with the tactics, but you've got to understand that over the last 7 years, we have made a lot of changes in a lot of parts of Southern Dallas. And we've got great expectations about those possibilities we talked. Let me remind you about where Southern Dallas is, and the answer is not south of North Dallas. It is a big piece of land south of Trinity on the west, south of I-30 on the east. It is one of the, no question, it's the largest part of Dallas, and I believe it's the most beautiful part as well. GrowSouth is an economic plan to drive economic growth in southern Dallas. That was its purpose. That was its focus. It's grown into other things, but that's ultimately its raison d'etre. We do what is important to get the assets that people say they wanted. They say they want retail, they want business, they want housing. That's what we're working on with GrowSouth. We did that with a 10-point plan, and I'm sorry for those of you who have seen this before, but some of you haven't. We started with this 10-part plan. The top 5 were structural, strategic issues, from neighborhoods to cleanliness to schools to myths to investments. And then we picked 5 beachheads in certain parts of southern Dallas, which we felt were ready to take off. And so we've done that. We've added some other things along the way, and there's other things happening besides these areas. But we wanted to stay true to the business plan that we had. And then 3 years ago, we added 4 accelerators. We felt if we did these things, maybe growth would even happen faster. I'll talk about those in a second, but from advisory councils all the way to a single-family housing initiative. And we have all this in a scorecard. I see most of you got it when you walked in. If you didn't get it, please pick one up at the back, and you can see the detail that we've got in this. I'm trying to keep this presentation to an hour, so you might have some questions that I don't cover that those documents do. Now, we always start with money because it's an economic development plan and a business strategy. And this is what's happened in the last 7 years. Our taxable property values have gone up about 36%. And this last year, we kind of flattened out from a growth standpoint. We've been growing every year. Now, understand that these are taxable values that really projects were started a couple of years ago. So the projects that were started last year haven't even really shown up on the tax rolls yet. And they are continuing to kind of build, but we want to see, are we improving the economic situation in southern Dallas, or are we not? And over that period of time, you saw that increase. We think the trend is going to go up. We see a lot of projects that have been, all the paper has been pulled on them, and they're ready to start, but we'll see that next year. We also track every year some specific areas that are census tracts that fall nicely together, and it allows us to kind of create an apples-to-apples comparison year upon year upon year. Because not every area is growing at the same rate, we want to understand why that is. We like to measure this growth through an indicator report, and so that's another document if you got a chance. And if you love numbers and want to get into the details, this shows you what is happening in every part of southern Dallas. Now, last year, our new city manager, Mr. Brodnick, spoke at this meeting, and he talked about implementing some measures to help navigate the future growth in southern Dallas. One of the tools that he brought up that is going to be a tremendous use for us in GrowSouth is a market value analysis. His chief, Raquel Favela, did this for Dallas, and you can start to see what is taking place. You saw the growth overall, but then you start to see this. Now, this is not measured by geographic area. It's not measured by zip code. It's measured block by block. So imagine we went every block in southern Dallas and looked at the economic vibrancy in these areas. Blue and purple are very strong. They're strong markets. They're strong neighborhoods. When you put money in those things, expect a quicker return. And then you go down all the way to the umber shaded colors, and you see that those are areas that we've got to do a better job of building basic infrastructure. This housing plan was approved by the city council last month, And you can start to see what I'm talking about when I talk about growth. You can see that just south of downtown, it is growing remarkably. North Oak Cliff is growing remarkably. West Dallas, we know what is taking place there in those areas. And lastly, it spills over to Pinnacle Park, where we have a lot of retail and we have a lot of housing and hotels that are coming on board there, and a new entertainment district. This year, we're looking at the progress of all these areas over 6 years, and we break them up into these 10 categories: population, property crime, violent crime, public school enrollment, high school graduation rate, college-educated residents, per capita income, labor force participation, median home sales, and real property value. Now, let me remind you again that these numbers are not all delivered for one 12-month period at the end of the year. Some of these are rolling numbers that the government takes a couple of 3 years to get them up, but over a period of time, you start to see the trend. If it's green, that's good. That means we're doing better than we did when we started. If it's red, we have not accomplished that objective. And I'll kind of show you these indicators when we talk about all the areas we measured against those 10 metrics. And nirvana here is that this chart is all green. That's what we want. And when you take the chart that we had the very first year, which was nearly all red, and you see where we've come here, you can see that we've made a lot of progress. Let me break it out for you, though, so you can read these charts in a better fashion. First of all, let's talk about money once again, income and values of property and the like. Per capita income over this period of time has gone up 24%. So the people that live in southern Dallas have a higher income on an annual basis. Labor force participation, about the same, okay? Median home sales, they're selling very rapidly, up 150% over that period of time. And then real property value is up 50%. So if you had a piece of property in southern Dallas, just an average piece of property, and then assessed it today, it would be up that 50%. You can see that really most of this is all pretty green. When you go to education, it tells a story that's, I think, interesting and I think strong. We're going to talk a little bit more about education in this presentation later. But it shows, first of all, that public school enrollment is down. That's caused by a lot of apartments that were in southern Dallas that are not there anymore. And so you don't have a lot of children, you don't have as many children in southern Dallas as we did before. And some of those kids are going to private schools. High school graduation rate, though, is up 6%. And college-educated residents are up 3.4%. That's a number that we want to continue to get because these jobs that are out there need those 2 or 4 year certifications in their jobs. And the last point is population and crime. Population is increasing by 7% over that period of time. You saw the public school attendance was going down, so you see that less families live in southern Dallas and more single individuals and couples. Property crime has gone down significantly by 17% in the last year. And then violent crime kind of mirrors what's happened in North Dallas. It's slightly up from 7 years ago. As you talk to our police, and I talked to Chief Hall, I said, all right, how are we going to turn this around to make sure this is green? And her belief is that we've got to do this kind of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, as opposed to just rushing in when there's an incident. We're very good at surging, but then we drop back. Our police strategy must be more constant and making sure that we've got the forces there in good times and in bads. So let's come back to the 10-point plan and say, how are we doing in that? That gives you, first of all, a sense of where we are from the community, what's happening there, but how are we doing against these strategies? I decided that it was important to not listen to me, but hear real people talk about what is happening in southern Dallas. I asked the council members from each of these districts to kind of give us a little overview as well. And I appreciate Casey Thomas. Casey is our point person for GrowSouth at the council level. And so they're going to talk about it as well. As I said, I'm very excited about some of the progress we've made, but I'm really excited about the passion that we see about southern Dallas.
I think sometimes the focus is always on the negative, but there is so much goodness that is happening.
I've seen the growth of Dallas. Whatever you envision for yourself 10 to 20 years from now, Dallas will be the place to do all that.
I love the grind and the hustle of people that live in southern Dallas because they know that they're dedicated to their communities and to their small businesses and to creating a better place to live.
Thanks everybody for being here. Southern Dallas is so big, and there's so many different angles that you can attack this issue to have conversations about. What I'm sensing is that neighborhoods are starting to congeal a little bit better.
Dallas Leadership Foundation is doing an amazing job with bringing organizations, Mill City Community Association, you're seeing with Miss Eel and Dolphin Heights, all these small neighborhoods that people typically were not aware that existed. They're now at the table, they're having voice, and they're talking about what's important to them. They're organizing, and they're speaking out and making a difference. It's impressive to see it happen.
Neighborhoods in southern Dallas have changed because they're more engaged, they feel more informed, they see they have a role to take in their own development, their own improvement.
Rain has stopped. Yes. The clouds have parted. The sun's coming out. It's going to be a great night, okay?
The opportunities are great. Oak Cliff, real estate is booming. Those prices are extremely high. So I think everybody's starting to look a little bit more south and a little bit more east and west for those affordable homes. And there are plenty of opportunities. It's just a matter of the education. Not only in educating people that those homes are there, but the people who live there, helping them realize that they can afford the homes.
Spend a moment on safety.
I think the perception has always been there in southern Dallas that, it's unsafe. Well, something that I do when I used to work in Irving, on Fridays, we do something called take long lunches. So I would take, some of my coworkers, I'll take them to southern Dallas. We'll go to some of the restaurants on the southern side and say, hey, this is what it really looks like. I know what you see on the news, but this is not what really is happening there. It's very thriving, it's very open, it's very family friendly.
It's a great part of town, a beautiful park. Let's take back Tipton Park, let's take back Tipton Creek and make it beautiful.
A beetle.
Talk about dogs.
I think there's work that's being done that, is commendable around the issue and bringing it to light, but there's still challenges.
Pig, I was starving.
This is a really exciting time, I think, educationally in Dallas and specifically in Southern Dallas. The main school district, DISD, is really championing some amazing strategies to improve student outcomes across the district, but specifically focused on schools that have had underinvestment and underachievement. And then I think you look at things like the Dallas County Promise, which is the new opportunity for graduating high school seniors to do 2 years free at a Dallas County Community College District and then transfer on for 2 additional years at UNT Dallas. That's a huge opportunity and could be a huge workforce boost.
UNT Dallas is there now, so before there wasn't any community college options or dual credit options prior to that. For me as a student, growing up at Oak Cliff, I had to travel from Oak Cliff all the way to Skyline. Then, I did the dual credit program at El Centro, so I was a professional dart rider, as I like to call it. But now, these kids in these areas that have these opportunities, they're exposed to so much more.
We're going to go to the Great Trinity Forest. In the middle of this forest was a landfill, and now the whole nation is watching the Byron Nelson. Fancy Dancy Golf Course, can that help Southern Dallas?
I think that if we were to put out flyers and tell people that 250,000 people are coming, people like my dad, who is very entrepreneurial, would say, I'm going to go sell water bottles. That's money coming into the neighborhood. So why not? Everybody can capitalize on it and have a good time.
I think exposure is very key. I think it gives a lot of people from Southern Dallas opportunity to be open and see something new and different, as well as people from the northern sector as well.
I think it's brilliant bringing a golf tournament like this to the southern sector. What a great opportunity to showcase to the nation.
Linda, you mentioned Impact Dallas, and kind of explain how things are changing.
We did raise over $37 million from a variety of different investors, but mostly private individuals. And the intention was to provide some gap financing for real estate projects because of the disparity between underwriting and making loans in North Dallas versus South Dallas. What's happened is we haven't deployed the money as quickly as we'd like. The gap financing is being provided in some ways by the private market. And so while we feel like we'll be fully deployed within the next 6 to 9 months, we're now starting to look at what does Fund 2 look like. But there still is a need for capital. It takes a while, particularly to interest investors and developers into certain areas, and that process has a longer runway than anybody anticipated when we started Impact Dallas Capital.
They've made it through several rounds of competition to have the opportunity to share their unique visions to grow South with us.
It's been exciting the last 7 years to see the changes in the farmers market and in the Cedars area. The shed has brought more people to downtown, more people to the southern side. I love going to the movies, so the Alamo Draft House is a great spot. Hopefully, one thing that will happen in the future is we'll get an elementary school for downtown, Deep Ellum, Farmers Market, and the Cedars.
We have a new vibrancy, we're more racially diverse, we have new neighbors, and we have some really great new things coming in, a lot of new culture. And the best thing about West Dallas now, with all of these great changes, is that we now have the best tacos in all of the city of Dallas. We need some more jobs in the area, and those are some of the things that we're looking to do. In the next 7 years, you're going to be seeing that West Dallas, District 6 is the place that everybody's going to want to live, work, and play.
Well, when you look at the new development, look at what it once was with the drug-ridden, crime-ridden motels, and you look at Urban Village and the new Rudy's Chicken, you look at the new Crest Shopping Center, I can go on and on. It is evolving around and changing. But what I'd like to see on Lancaster in the very future, I'd love to see restaurants that we could go in, sit down, and have a salad, shrimp cocktails under candlelight with tablecloths, and other economic development opportunities and retail plus housing.
Whoa, last 7 years, so we did not have a 4-year university. Now we got a 4-year university. Now we got a resident hall. We're building a third building there. Those are big things right there. You know, you got a gateway coming in there at 20 in University Hill. Imagine a great hotel there. You know, your office building, the upper middle class housing. That's another thing. A restaurant. You know, a new town center.
Yeah, it's really transformational. Actually, there are a lot of changes that are happening, and a lot of people are making it more of the central spot for the heart of the Oak Cliff. I think what's really important is that the new businesses come that are thriving, but that we're able to bring people to Oak Cliff and Jefferson specifically that maybe haven't been in the area in decades or maybe have never been.
All right, Southern Dallas, 10 years from now. What do you see? What are the possibilities out there?
There won't be any empty lots.
I see two things. One is I think education is going to significantly improve in Southern Dallas because you have schools like Tag Magnet, #1 school in the nation. He has proven that the diversity of students makes everyone better. So I think that's huge. And number two is there's huge opportunity for young professional engagement. In any capacity, in any way that you are looking to get engaged in your city, you can do it there.
You know, when I moved back, I was in my early 20s, and I've seen the growth of Dallas. It's a true melting pot. You know, whatever you want, envision for yourself 10 to 20 years from now, Dallas will be the place for you to do all that.
Thanks everyone that participated in the video. First of all, I should have said this at the beginning. There's so many things that are happening in Southern Dallas that I wish I could put every one of them in this presentation, in this discussion. But we would be probably a 2.5-hour plan. I particularly like Mayor Pro Tem's Caraway's vision to have white tablecloths and a candlelight dinner there on Lancaster. When was the last time anybody had a candlelight dinner? I need to go do that sometime, okay? But it would be wonderful to do it. We had a lot of growth and a lot of business that was taking place, but we said, as I reminded you earlier, we needed to get it going faster. So we added some accelerators to these 10 points 3 years ago. And we decided to to attack issues that were endemic across the system. One was communication. We felt that we were not communicating with the community good enough, and we weren't listening to them as well. So we created an advisory council, folks that live and work in southern Dallas, coming up with ideas, talking to us about what southern Dallas needs, and then also doing some work. They divided up into 8 areas, and you can see from education, residential real estate, commercial real estate, neighborhoods, economic development, arts and culture, financial literacy, and health. These were their choices, and these are the projects they're working on. I'm so proud of what they've done because, for instance, the residential real estate have had 20 presentations to real estate professionals in North Dallas, okay, to tell North Dallas real estate folks what is happening in southern Dallas. We've got, in the commercial real estate, we created a digital map with every property that is already zoned and open and ready for purchase, where you could buy it quickly, put a project in there, and open the doors. Something that you could get it done within 6 months to make sure that folks knew that that was the approach. I love the folks that work on higher education. I'm sorry, if someone had asked me how many colleges in southern Dallas, I wouldn't have come up with 7, okay? Got 7 with over 60,000 young people going to college in southern Dallas. That's an industry in and of itself, and it tells you how important education is throughout southern Dallas. The second thing we did is we realized that most of the folks in southern Dallas lived by renting a single-family home. We don't have as many apartments throughout, compared to other cities in the nation in southern Dallas, but we are one of the highest as far as renting single-family homes. The problem is that we didn't have standards for those homes, and we didn't have information about who owned them and what was working on it. We worked hard with tenants, we worked hard with landlords, and we started implementing with the support of City Council. We passed Chapter 27. Adam McGew worked very hard on that to make sure we had the standards for these renters. And we started to change this. That in combination with all the growth that we're seeing, suddenly this G word came up, this gentrification that we've all talked about. Are we trying to move people out? They've lived there in a long time, and suddenly business is coming and going to kick people out. And I wanted to kind of talk about this because this is where economic development meets communities that have lived there for a long time. It's a real issue, and it's an issue we've got to be very thoughtful about. The change has brought about the talk in neighborhoods and a talk at City Hall. So can we change with that, or is change bad? Here's my couple of thoughts. First of all, I believe growth is good. That's what people wanted in southern Dallas. They want growth, and they need growth. They want those retail institutions to support their quality of life. Second, gentrification by its nature creates diversity. I'm a big believer that if we had diversity throughout our city, we would be stronger and healthier as an environment. And that's what this starts to help. Now, it can be used as a wedge issue, and it can end up with people having to move. We didn't have the tools necessary to deal with this issue, and now we do. With our new housing plan, we've got a way to approach this. So our city departments work to identify the top owners, work with them. A housing policy was created to help renters avoid that displacement. And long story short, we've got money to create a safety net for them. And if they want to buy a home, we've got money for them to help improve their homes so somebody that has been there for 30 or 40 years can now stay there. And lastly, and very importantly, for the first time, we have a database with over 6,800 single family rental homes that are inspected, and it's our database. Believe it or not, we didn't know it. We didn't know where people lived. And so I think we're making progress. The best pleasant surprise I got through this whole effort is 50 families now in West Dallas are owning their homes versus renting. And that's what we need, more home ownership in Fair Park in South Dallas and other places that will continue to create this sort of growth. Now, we also needed new homes. We had the old ones. We needed the new. We needed some new ones. So, as you remember, we created a single-family housing steering committee, chaired by Ted Wilson of Residential Strategies. And these folks looked at Southern Dallas, and they said, we will build 1,500 new homes in Southern Dallas between the price of $150,000 and $500,000 for middle-class families to live in. This group has now produced 1,420 homes and reset their goal to 2,000. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we've got other people that have jumped in and built homes. So in the last 3 years, we've got 2,100 new homes in Southern Dallas for people to buy. No one would have ever thought that, okay? So I'm excited about what's happening with housing. That, with our new housing plan, I think can create a balanced growth for all of our neighborhoods. Also, we decided that the mayor's office can't do this all, the city hall can't do it all. We have to work together in a collective fashion. So we called folks from all the organizations in town, from DART to DISD, the police department, to Parkland, to Workforce Solutions, to the regional chamber, to United Way. And we asked them, let's work together on Southern Dallas. And how do we do that? Well, nobody had money in their budget to put something incremental in. So once again, we went to the private sector. And we got sponsorships from these organizations to help pay for this initiative. We meet once a quarter, and it is very, very impressive. Citibank was the original sponsor. Thank you, Citibank. They were the anchor sponsor with BB&T, Wells Fargo, Hobbit Cell Foundation in year one. The second year, Citi signed up again. Verizon signed up, and Veritex Bank signed up. You see how the banks are starting to say Southern Dallas is important, so they're leaning into these initiatives. This year, Verizon has agreed to help us fund the transition of this program, and they're here today. So, Verizon, thank you so much for being a big supporter of this issue. Now, what did this money go to pay for? It went to pay for these three superstars, okay? We hired 3 individuals that were on the payroll of a 501c3, not city, not any place, and they went into 3 areas. First, LaShawn Watts went to Redbird. Her focus was to unleash the financial capability of that area and really work on workforce. We had the jobs, we've got the workforce, how do we connect them together? So she created a workforce coalition with 14 other organizations to work in the area. She held a lot of fairs, job fairs, but what she realized is a lot of people weren't coming to them, so she took those job fairs to apartment buildings. She had 10 mini opportunity fairs in apartment complexes and went door to door to sell that work. Edie Diaz went to Urbandale Parkdale, which is a wonderful part of the city. It kind of reminds me of Lake Highlands a little bit, the warmth and the neighborhoods that are there. And she said, we need to make this the best place in Southern Dallas to raise a family. So she started to focus on schools and neighborhoods. It's highly Latino, and a lot of Hispanics were leaning back, and we're not leaning towards the schools, and we needed to get them more interactive there. So she increased, with many, many programs, increased parent-teacher involvement in all the schools by 25%. And now these families are being part of their local schools, and all the schools either held or gained in their scoring distinction. And Michael Hinojosa loves Edie for what she is able to do in that community. And last but not least is Christy Myers. Christy was in the education corridor. She felt that we needed more infrastructure. We needed the city to work better for these citizens. She worked hard with DART to make them rethink the way that bus routes were going to be out there. And then she started working on other infrastructure projects. And our most recent project that has been is getting off the ground is an integrated health clinic. She formed a board of both mental health and physical health and behavioral health professionals. So all the folks downtown now have a place in far, far southern Dallas. We didn't have that. If you're a police officer and you deal with somebody with mental health issues, you had to kind of take them to some place 30 minutes away. And now we're going to be able to build this. The city's giving land to it, and it is truly a collaboration. So this proved that collaboration can work. And we said, where does it go from here? And everybody said, let's keep it together and let's take it bigger. How do we take it to a place where the biggest issue that's facing us is poverty in Dallas? And so this new organization is being formed to create a tremendous strategy right against the poverty. Our mayor's poverty task force have isolated the drivers. This is why people are in poverty. They've got the jobs, but they don't have the workforce training or the education. They've got the jobs, but they can't get to the jobs. They've got the jobs, but they might be in English, and they need to learn how to speak English. We've got the jobs, but a 20-year-old lady has a 6-year-old because she had a baby when they were 14, and our teenage pregnancy rates are too high in parts of southern Dallas. And then last but not least, the majority of this poverty is driven because single female-led households have kids that are out there that one poor mom can't support. And so that brings in child care and the likes. So we're going to work here in June and to create a new plan to be able to deal with this. And I'm committing my next 13 months to focus specifically on this. So as you kind of look at southern Dallas and where it's going to go from here, what's on the horizon? What do you see right around the corner that I think could be game changers? I think there are 4 areas. First, down in Redbird, you saw it on the film. Redbird, who would have thought? We had a out-of-town landlord in Redbird forever. I went and visited him up in New Jersey. He wasn't going to move it. He was putting $100 bills on the Xerox machine and just printing them out. He didn't want to invest back into Redbird. And so we were able to get local ownership that understood the nuances of that. And so we're creating hotels and restaurants in that important cornerstone of southern Dallas. It's an issue that's going to come before the city council. We're going to have to build infrastructure to help, because the infrastructure that was built there it can't take all the growth that's envisioned for that. But we'll get through that, and Redbird will start to happen. Right up the road, Dallas Executive Airport. We just approved a development of aircraft maintenance center, but we've got a lot more that's available. And people are starting to knock on the city's doors in a serious manner. They understand what's going on, and there's money to be had. And so you see what's taking place with an aviation center. As Love Field starts to fill up, more and more aviation is starting to be moved to Executive Airport. Fair Park. Fair Park is the place where everybody in this city wants it to grow. On our bond election, I was pleased that Fair Park got the highest support of any of our bond elections facts. They love and they wanted They want to support it. North of Fair Park, we see some great development, and you see the Dallas Catalyst project right there that's going to be investing $1 million in projects that Trek has been doing. It includes the Forest Theater that City Square has been part of, the St. Philip's School in that neighborhood, Cornerstone Church. And I know I have, and I know Mr. Felder has, talked to a lot of developers that are right there on the verge to invest in that. And it's going to come over from the Cedars, okay? So we know what's happened to the Cedars, and we know what Cedars looked like 7 years ago. That's what's going to happen in Fair Park. And last but not least is Pleasant Grove. This is my new area of focus. This is the people that really build Dallas live in Pleasant Grove. They're the folks that work hard and make our city run. And it is the potential of being one of the thriving areas in southern Dallas. What we did is we created an organization called Pleasant Grove Now. We created a board and the businessman Roland Parrish is the chairman of the board, one of the top businessmen in the city. And he's smart, and he's agreed to give back his talent to help lead this. He and Councilman Callahan have pulled together a great neighborhood organization, a great board, along with Councilman Atkins, and we're working to create a plan there. They've hosted several events already, including a citizen charrette for residents, and they're planning on some beautification and some neighborhood projects. They're working on a communication strategy, and they want to make sure we somehow create a town center with Pleasant Grove. I'll tell you, I shouldn't be talking about it. Let's look at this video.
Growing up, I felt like Pleasant Grove was isolated from the rest of Dallas. It was beautiful because you could see the skyline off to the distance. There just wasn't a lot of investment at the time. And now we have so much activity along Buckner Boulevard. It's just completely different from whenever I grew up.
We actually have a grand opening here. We want people to know that we're here to help them, and we want to help people get jobs. It's a very diverse community. There is a large Hispanic population here where we're at, and not only Hispanics, but there's also African Americans. When you leave our doors, you leave with that spirit saying, you know what, they helped me get a job today, and not just any job, but they helped me go back to school, or I got a job maybe where I was making $8 an hour, and now I'm getting a $14, $15 job. That's what we want to do for our community.
Pleasant Grove is a community that we're honored and privileged to be a part of, where families are yearning for high-quality schooling options. We want to work in concert with them and believe that Pleasant Grove is a place for us.
I believe no child should be overlooked, no neighborhood should be underserved, and I don't think there's anything better you can do for a neighborhood that is underserved by giving their children this opportunity. This is what changes generations, so I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
There's an elementary school in Pleasant Grove that is part of Dallas ISD's Accelerating Campus Excellence programs. Just a month ago, the STAR scores for fifth graders in this elementary school outperformed the fifth graders in Highland Park.
Not that I'm competitive or anything. Go!
Pleasant Grove truly is pleasant. The broad availability of land, the green fields that we have, you're just not going to find that in any other part of town. So we think development's right. Coupled with the Trinity Forest Golf Course, the Texas Horse Park, and the Trinity Audubon Center, those natural assets, I think, can certainly be a catalytic to development in that area. Well, what I like about Pleasant Grove is really the people. They're just genuine, sincere, friendly, and, I think we're the best people in the world.
Look at the future of Pleasant Grove. I think we're going to see a lot of great things here in the next couple of years, which leads you to what is the future of GrowSouth? A lot of people have said, well, mayors come and go. council people come and go? Are we going to continue to focus on Southern Dallas? Well, that may be the determination of you, the voters, and the future of this city that will make that determination. But I will tell you, if we do these things, I think we can continue the momentum. Let me walk you through them. First of all, we've got to continue neighborhood capacity building. One of the big ahas that I got was that the neighborhood organizations in North Dallas outnumbered the neighborhood associations in Southern Dallas significantly, and they were stronger, and they knew how to do it. So we went off and created a VISTA organization that Adam McGew actually helped us start, and we have now 19 VISTAs working with neighborhoods across Southern Dallas to build the capacity for those neighborhood associations, to understand how do you have meetings, how do you create databases, how do you have crime watch groups, and those are helping. The city is investing in that. We put $150,000 into it, matching the federal grant of $150,000. So $300,000 is there for salaries of VISTA people. Second is we've got to make sure we have that those neighborhoods focus on beautification. For the first time now, we have a backbone organization to do that. Keep Dallas Beautiful is now up and running. Kroger's, Albertsons, and Tom Thumb are funding Keep Dallas Beautiful, and they are starting an initiative in 3 southern neighborhoods. They're going to work with those associations to educate children about litter, work on a 3 to 5 year beautification plan, and have events around zero waste. So neighborhoods want to be beautiful, and that we've got an organization that's going to help them. Second, always keep metrics in your mind. Say, show me the numbers. Because when politicians start talking without numbers, they may be lying. I don't know, okay? But they, when they've got numbers usually kind of support the facts. And I think it's important that we continue to track these. You saw how we grew from the metrics we've had to now our market value analysis, that we can update and see how the marketplace has changed with different activity. And because we've got that, now we also have an opportunity in Southern Dallas for what's called opportunity zones. These are zones where a tax credit program where private investors can invest their money and get tax breaks for investing in the areas. We didn't have those before. We've got the proof of them. We sent them to the governor, and now we'll have more capital coming in. It's also going to play well in our housing policy and how we build more housing there. The third thing is what I talked about before. Nobody can do this alone. We have to do it as a team sport. And the collective nature of this, so if you're part of an organization that feels outside the ropes, we need to get you inside and be part of this. Parkland, DART, Workforce Solutions, all these organizations are working well together. We want to continue to do that. I want to keep the advertising and PR effort up. I mean, people are probably tired of me talking about Southern Dallas, okay? And they're just saying enough of it. But not enough people have heard throughout the Metroplex about Southern Dallas. I learned in advertising, in my career in advertising, you have to tell somebody something 6 to 10 times before it actually soaks in. You just can't tell them once. I guess that's why mothers talk to their kids that way. They tell them all the time, don't do that. And they finally start to get it. And that's what we've got to do here with Southern Dallas. We've also got to keep the private money flowing. We've realized that private investment is important for Southern Dallas. That's the way it's going to grow. I'm so pleased with the progress that Impact Dallas has had. With many of their board members are here. They've deployed 22% of their fund. 7% are now in term sheet negotiations, so that's pretty close to writing a check. And then 65% of the fund is in is in a deal in the deal log where they're underwriting and looking at those possibilities. So they've got the deals, and they can put those $37 million in. But Linda McMahon said something up there in the video that was very quick, and I don't want to miss it. One of the things that this board has realized is the money has moved so fast into southern Dallas that their price of capital is getting undercut. So they need, when they invest their money, they need low double digits, 12% return on their investment annually. And other money has come in from banks and insurance organizations at cheaper money. And so they get elbowed out, which is good. That means more and more capital is coming. The question is, how do you spend that capital? How do you raise that capital? How do you deploy it? And today I'm announcing that they have hired Deloitte to do an amazing study of the economic investments that are happening in southern Dallas and who's making the investments and how do they make better investments. We've never had something like this where we look at actually capital moving into a market. And remember what the progress we made with loose dogs when we were able to come in with BCG on that study. And so I appreciate Deloitte because they're doing this work on a very discounted basis. But by the end of the year, we're going to have a study to understand what's really happening from a financial standpoint. This all leads to economic development, and the city is going to have an economic development strategy here by the end of the year as well. And we're going to make sure that we implement that strategy in southern Dallas, and so we minimize the political debates and we focus on making southern Dallas grow, which all leads to what I think is the core driver of southern Dallas, and that's business attraction. When we are able to attract businesses to southern Dallas, it helps on so many fronts. It helps people to have jobs near their homes so they don't have to travel clear across the place. It helps values in the real estate. It helps young kids to see people working as small business owners. I'm blown away by the small business entrepreneurs we have in southern Dallas. I met two of them recently. We had a big small business seminar, and Tracy German, I don't know who's eating at the cake bar, okay? This lady is a rock star, okay? She cooked cakes in her own kitchen, and now she's got a business that's one of the best cake companies in North Texas, easily over $500,000 in revenue every year, and she's learned how to be a business person. And then Cindy Pedreza and her mother created Coco Andre Chocolatier. This is, if you want the best chocolates, you go to this place. In fact, it's so good that American Airlines has just announced that they're going to be the chocolatier for first class in all their international flights right here in Oak Cliff, Texas, right there. And you see other businesses moving in. I've been with two large relocations of warehouses with people working for 500, not warehouses, light manufacturing, where they're going to have 500 employees in southern Dallas. WellMed, Casey just announced that, $1.5 million in health care for senior citizens moving here. They're seeing that they can make this work. Over the next few months, I think you're going to see more than $700 million in projects in the GrowSouth area. So it keeps churning. So we have a very bright future if we stay focused on this and we don't get our eye off the ball about things that are not critical to the neighborhoods and the businesses of southern Dallas. I don't think we've even scratched the surface here. I'm very pleased what you all have done in the last 6 and 7 years, but we are just starting the growth of southern Dallas. People, when we announced this golf course, people did not believe it was going to happen. They said, oh yeah, that's a bunch of hogwash, okay? People still don't believe that Redbird's going to turn around, okay? You see different things, and they're the doubting Thomases. And we're showing them time and time again that this is happening. Remember, my goal is pretty simple. It's a bit audacious, but it's pretty simple. I want the tax base in southern Dallas to be larger than that of North Dallas, okay? And I think with the community, with neighbors, with business, with supporters like you, it can make it happen. You have cared about this city. You've loved this city. And I think what we're doing right now is going to redefine this city in the next 30 years. People are going to remember when there was nothing down there in southern Dallas, like they talked about with Plano and the right. And I think it's this close to happening. We've got to keep the momentum going, and ultimately, it's all about you. So thank you so much, and let's grow South. Thank you. Right across the way, if you want to have some beverages. I'm buying.
Voila.